Welcome to Fit and Bold, where we promote healthy lifestyles. I'm your host, Lakita Goins. Today's topic is pediatric winter illnesses. Many of us who have children may notice that they seem to get sick in the winter. It may not be cold yet, but winter is definitely coming. Today we're going to talk about 4 common illnesses in children, prevention, the symptoms, and how to take care of our little babies and big babies when they get sick. We're here with Dr. Armand today from the UAMS Area Health Education Center. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Now, while I was researching this topic, I came across RSV several times. Can you tell us what that is?
Well, RSV stands for Respiratory Syncytial virus. Basically, it's a virus that infects the lungs, and it's more common in younger kids in the winter months. You'll have kids that are, it depends on the severity of it, they just kind of present with shortness of breath, just not breathing right, to a more severe symptom, which is they have retractions, and they have wheezing, they run fever, high fever, and basically they have to be seen by a doctor.
Okay, now how is this transmitted?
Pretty much what we recommend for the parents, wash your hands. Anybody that takes care of the baby, wash your hands. A lot of it daycare, just in crowded environment where one kid is sick and then they give it to another kid, and just.
Okay. So you talked about the symptoms. Can you just go through them briefly again?
Sure. RSV, again, it could just a common cold type of symptom, runny nose, cough, just not breathing well, fever, which, a lot of these type of symptoms in kids are just other viruses, nothing crazy, nothing to worry about. But the RSV is one of those that can get worse, and they can, you can actually hear the wheezes when they have a bad RSV infection. You can hear the wheeze, and they have these retraction. You take the baby's clothes off, and you can actually see the retraction. And, they're sucking up their tummies to breathe.
Oh, wow. So another thing I continuously saw was strep throat. What is strep throat?
Strep throat is caused by Streptococcus bacteria. That's what we call the strep throat. Basically, it's a bacterial infection. You have kids, they complain of sore throat, they can complain of cough, they run some fever, and the only way to treat it would be antibiotics. And it's something that we highly recommend treat it for, because, it has a complication later on. You can have the rheumatic fever and the vegetation on your heart and stuff like that.
Do only children get strep throat, or?
No, adults can get it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you know it's time to see a doctor? I mean, sometimes kids will tell you they have a sore throat. How do you know it's time to go to a doctor about this?
Sore throat, I think when it comes to just the snotty nose, you don't really need to, you look at your kid, they're just having some snotty nose, you do the nasal suctioning, because, kids, when adults have a snotty nose, we go to the bathroom, we blow our nose. Kids can't do that, so the key there is to just kind of suction their nose, and that will take care of most of the kids. As long as they're eating well, they're playing around, they're feeding well, they're smiling, laughing, kids are okay. Now, sore throat, on the other hand, if they're running fever, they're just not, if they can't swallow, they're coughing, I think it's time to go to the doctor and just kind of have a strep test done.
Okay. Now, what is the strep test?
A strep test, basically the nurse goes in, take a little Q-tip, take a little sample, and run it in the lab, and it tells us if you got a strep throat or not.
So it's immediate, like,
yeah, it's very
fast.
quick. And most of the time, if it's bad enough, we can, you open your mouth and kind of look inside, look at your tonsils, and you will have that white exudate. If I see that myself, I don't even order a strep test. I know it's a strep infection.
Okay. And what's the treatment for strep?
Treatment would be antibiotics. Commonly we use amoxicillin. There are a bunch of others we can use, but a lot of the most common one that we use would be amoxicillin.
So I know strep can be contagious.
Yeah.
When is it safe when does it get out of that zone where it's not contagious anymore?
I would say give the antibiotics at least 48 hours.
Okay. The stomach flu or the stomach bug is another illness that seems to be more common in the winter. So, and maybe it's because of the close quarters, like you said, if your kids go to daycare.
Yeah.
But can you describe what it is and what causes it?
A lot of the stomach bugs, I guess in kids, what you worry about is the rotavirus. You know, they can quickly dehydrate them, and they do have vaccination for rotavirus. So make sure your kids are vaccinated. That's the key. You know, vaccination, just like your doctor recommends, on time.
And will you give us, that was the medical terminology for it. Some of us are used to the stomach flu. Can you give us that one more time?
Oh, the rotavirus?
We'll go to the doctor and hear that, and we're like,
I'm sorry, I just...
It's okay.
Most of the stomach bugs, most of the diarrhea type of stuff will go away on its own within 24 to 48 hours, whether it's kids or adults. Okay, and adults, we say you follow the BRAD diet, which is you take your green banana, you take your steamed rice, applesauce, and some toast. Avoid the fat, creamy stuff. Oral hydration, Gatorade, and give it about. There's no reason to actually run to the ER or wait for hours in the waiting room. Give it about 24 to 48 hours and it will go away most of the time, okay? That's majority of the stomach bugs. Now, if you notice blood in your stool, if you start running fever, if it lasts more than 48 hours, yeah, that's about time that you go see a doctor.
Okay, and one more thing I want to talk about, and I didn't find that this was so much seasonal, but I see the commercials all the time, and that's the whooping cough.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about it?
Yes, the whooping cough, we don't see it as much as we used to. At one time, it was a big, you know, common problem in kids. With the Tdap vaccination, we just don't see it very much.
Okay.
But again, it's a serious illness when the kids do get it. Again, the key there, vaccinate on time. A lot of the time, again, it starts out as a common cold. Your kids, it's a common cold. It's dragging on a little too long. And about 7-10 days, they have this hacking cough. And they just cough, 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 cough. And then they take that deep breath, you know, and that's kind of just to kind of get the air in, because they, you know, that continuous cough
right
kind of squeeze all the air out of the lungs, and they take that deep breath, and that's where the term whooping comes from.
Okay. Well, I'm glad we don't see it that much anymore, but how serious is it?
It's pretty serious. You can have an apneic episode, you could have seizures, you can have, it can be very serious.
So if a child does come up with whooping cough, how is it treated?
Treated with antibiotics and supportive therapy. We give them breathing treatments, and we treat them with antibiotics.
Okay. Can you please give our parents some advice about taking care of their children this winter?
Sure. The key is wash your hands. If you're sick, please wash your hands. Keep your general overall hygiene is very important. A lot of these diseases, especially the contagious ones, are preventable. Wash your hands. I mean, it's not very hard. You know, use soap and water. That's it. Okay. The second thing is all kids needs to be vaccinated. Little babies are very prone to infection. You know, especially after 3 months. Right. After 3 months, they start developing their immune system, and they're okay. But you know, the younger babies, just again, hygiene. Clean hygiene.
Well, that was going to be my last question, but that made me think of something else. What if you're a parent and you have 2 or 3 children and maybe some of them share a room? How do you have one child sick but keep the other kids from getting sick?
Again, that's a tough situation, because it's just you're back to like the daycare environment, and that's why kids get sick so often, because they're around other kids, they're around their siblings. Again, hygiene is the way to go. Otherwise, I mean, kids are kids. They're always
kids. And it's hard
because
they like to lick, and you'd be surprised.
But again, as a parent, you just try your best. As, you know, you clean hygiene, general hygiene is the way to go. Okay.
Well, thank you, Dr. Amin, for your help today, and I hope you've helped some of our children be a little bit healthier this
My
winter.
pleasure.
When we return, we're going to give you a hearty, fit and bold healthy recipe pick. So stay tuned.
dapat orma saya kita ketulah dengan sabutan.
See where the good goes at goodgoes.org.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been talking about what makes our children sick in the winter. So, keeping that in mind, we want to try to boost their immune systems and get ready for this cold weather. I present to you our Fit and Bold healthy recipe pick of creamed beef. This is a wonderful dish because not only is it packed with nutrition and immune boosting items, it also tastes great, and even the tickiest eaters love it. So our grocery list includes 1 pound of ground beef, 2 cubes of chicken bouillon, a half teaspoon of garlic powder, a half teaspoon of ground black pepper, a half teaspoon of onion powder, a half a cup of wheat flour, 1.5 cups of low-fat milk, and a half of a small onion finely chopped. So the first thing you want to do is get you a large skillet. You want to put your ground beef into it, or whichever form of meat you use. You can use a leaner meat, a chuck cut, or some other kind, but later you may have to reduce the amount of flour you put into the recipe. So I just used a ground beef. I put it in the pan and let it cook. You have to let it cook thoroughly until there is no pink left. And this can be done on a medium heat if you cook it covered in about 7 minutes. Once you cook that, instead of draining the fat, you want to sprinkle, also while you're cooking the meat, you want to go ahead and put your garlic powder, and you want to put your onions as it gets close to the meat being done, like the pink is gone out of the meat. Go ahead and put your onions and garlic powder and pepper, put all of that in and let it cook for another minute or so, just until you start to see those onions cooking down. Now, instead of draining at this point, you want to take your flour and you want to liberally sprinkle around the pan. You want to get all the flour out, but you want it to be even. Now the flour is gonna absorb any of the oil from the actual cooking of the meat. Once you do this, you want to let it cook for an additional 3 minutes or so. You'll start to see the flour brown. Once this happens, you want to go ahead and get your milk, and we're going to use the reduced fat milk, the half and half. You want to go ahead and sprinkle that around the mixture once the flour starts to brown. Now, by now, you should turn your heat all the way down to the lowest setting. And you want to go ahead and you want to leisurely stir it until you start to see it getting thicker. But you want to stop before it gets to where it's really clunky. But you'll have a nice texture going, and you'll start to see the beef look like this. So it'll be nice. It'll still have a little flow to it, but it'll have a little firmness to it as well. And I put the beef on top of spinach leaves because you can never have too many green vegetables. And if you put this on top of it, the kids may not notice they're eating the green vegetables until they're gone. So I want to talk about why this is healthy, because I know it's not traditional as far as meat and the fat used in it. Well, one big issue in keeping your immune system boosted is vitamin C. So, believe it or not, in this cream beef mixture, we have a high vitamin C food, and that vitamin C superfood is the onions. The great part about it, if you chop it finely enough, the children don't even realize it's in there. But it gives you 4 times the amount of vitamin C you need in a day. So this is great. Now, your beef also plays a big part because it has zinc in it. For those of you who don't know, zinc helps you produce white blood cells, and these cells are what help to fight off infections. And you also have vitamin E if you put it on top of spinach, or if you can find another dark green leafy vegetable to put it on top of, where the kids don't notice it so much, but it has a great flavor. And the vitamin E is an immune system booster as well. And there are some other things you can do. Research shows that omega-3 fatty acid, which are found in fatty fishes such as salmon, and they reduce the chance of respiratory infections. And that's one of our topics that we talked about earlier with our doctor that affects children primarily in the winter. So we can take these things. There are other foods that are high in vitamin C. So if the child just notices the onions, they absolutely can't deal with onions. You have strawberries, you have oranges, you have cantaloupe and red peppers, which are not spicy, but they can be chopped finely and integrated into dishes too. And then your child can still get vitamin C. So some other things that have zinc in it other than ground beef, you can find it in dark meat turkey, beans. You can even find zinc fortified cereals, and if you go to your cereal aisle, it'll usually have it right there on the front of the box because they know how valuable zinc is as well. So you can enjoy this. It's a great hearty food. I want to say it's a great winter food. It warms you up and is good. And I have a tiki eater, and she even loves it. So enjoy your cream beef. When we return, we're going to be down at the Child Development Center at UAPB working out with our kids. Stay tuned.
Hungry?
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
There's a crisis in the Horn of Africa. Actually, there are 3 crises. The worst drought in 60 years, the worst famine in 20, and nonstop violence. But there's hope, because saving lives doesn't take a lot. It just takes a lot of us. Text a donation of $10 and do more than donate. Forward the facts to everyone you know. Forward from the site, on Facebook, and on Twitter. We are the relief.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who do something, the people who take action, are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Welcome back to Fit and Bold. Today we've been learning about pediatric winter illnesses. A part of combating illnesses is working out. That means our children too. We have to get them up, we have to get them jumping around and running and playing and just doing what children naturally do. So we're here today with the UAPB Child Development Center, and the children here are going to show us how to exercise right.
Move this circle round and round we go. Stop, go the other way. Move this circle round and round we go. Stop, listen, clap, clap, hands. Clap your hands. Clap your hands. Clap, clap, clap. Clap your hands today. Shake your hands. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your hands. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your hands. Goodbye. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, please stand up. If you're happy and you know it, then your face is really short. If you're happy and you know it, please stand up. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray. Happy and you know it, shout hooray. If you're happy and you know it, then your face is really short. If you're happy and you know it, turn all around. If we're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face is really short. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
The children here at the UAPB Child Development Center sure are active, and that's the way we want them to be. As a parent, when you get on your healthy lifestyle journey, you need to take your children with you on that journey. They need to be healthy, they need to be active. So remember,
Get ready.